question that we need to think about when it comes to building an AI-powered LMS. All of you are interested in building your own LMS, right? And where does AI come into picture? Why should AI come into picture? That's the question that we're going to answer. First, we're going to understand what exactly is the scope of the problem that we are trying to solve with LMS. Who are those personas that we are appealing to? And then we are going to see how we have built at Feedback First this LMS and what are those AI capabilities that were baked into it, what are the problems that they're solving, and we see the solution in more detail. And then we'll spend some time understanding the technology stack behind this LMS and how you can start building it. Even if you're from, let us say, non-coding background, right? So how can you actually look at various technology components coming together to build this solution? Right? So those are the three segments of today's talk. Let's get started. The first question is, who is this LMS built for? Right? It is built for two personas. First persona is the learner, right? Leo, who is a business analyst who is interested in ML transition, right? And who has intermediate knowledge in the world of data science, who understands basics. He knows what is deep learning, difference between linear regression, Loess regression. Conceptually, he is good, right? And he is trying to get hands-on experience so that he can build AI products that he can showcase on resumes. Right? He wants to transition into a product manager role in the world of machine learning data science. In order to do that, he has to have that hands-on experience of building AI products. And that's exactly what he's trying to learn as part of this program. Right? And he went through various online courses, but the problem is with online courses, content is dumped to you. Right? Let us say you already are coming from a very high level of machine learning understanding. Still, if you enroll yourself in a course, you'll start from the basics, isn't it? Right? Whereas Leo is looking for a course that is catered, tailored to his needs. Right? So that is the persona, that is for person for whom we are building this LMS, and that's where AI is going to come in. How will AI personalize the LMS to meet Leo's needs? That's what we're going to see. And another persona who is going to be catered to using this platform is Mary, who is a mentor. Right? So Mary registered on this platform. She's a product manager, right, with experience of building AI products. She is currently mentoring 6 students, and she spends a lot of time, right, curating content for the learners. What tutorials need to be pushed to her learners, right? So what are the areas in which the learners need help, right? So what kind of evaluation needs to be performed, right? But she does not have much time for evaluation because she also has a day job, right? Now, how is our LMS going to help these two personas? That's what we're going to see. And the biggest problem is coaching. Right? She has 6 students, right? Who should I coach? When should I coach? What should I coach? And how should I coach? Right? So these are the questions that are at the back of Mary's mind. And that's exactly where our LMS comes into picture, right? And our LMS pipeline works like this, right? First step is mentor will be uploading the content. And this content can be tutorials, articles, right? Sharing feedback on some of the assignments that the students have the mentees have completed, right? And then once that information is shared, next step would be AI modules are going to analyze that input. Let us say I upload an article, right? I need to ensure that this information goes to the right mentee, right? So that the person for whom this article is relevant, they should get that insight, right? So that's where AI will come into picture. It will create recommendations for that article. It will also understand who are those people, who are the students for whom this article is intended to. We'll also see the demo of this, right? And the next step after creating those recommendations is notifying the learner, right? So once the AI module completes the processing of the mentor content, right, it will notify the learner. Learner will receive notification, content filtered by something that we call as AI quotient, right? So what is this AI quotient? Let us spend some time understanding this. AI quotient, think of it as IQ levels of an individual, right? The way you understand a concept, no matter be it a book, be it some news article, be it some complex problem, it all depends on your IQ levels, your ability to comprehend things, right? And all of us have different IQ levels. Some of us have high IQ levels, some of us have very low IQ levels, some of us have average IQ levels, right? Similarly, for LMS, the most important way, the best way to curate content personalized to a person is to calculate his IQ levels. And in our case, we are trying to calculate his ability to understand AI concepts. Right? There will be assessments that we'll be doing during the registration process itself, where we understand how much does he understand about AI. And it's a continual process. Right? Initially, when he registered on the web platform, right, he might be having low AI quotient. But over the course of time, after he reads articles, after he go through tutorials, right, went through mentoring sessions from his mentor, right, his AI quotient might improve. In which case, he should start getting more sophisticated content as recommendations, right? That's the key aspect of you building a personalized LMS. You need to find out some criteria, right, that will filter out the content for the mentee. Right? In our case, it was AI quotient. We'll also see how that is calculated and what are the different ways or activities that will result in updation of this AI quotient, right? And then the next step, once you calculate, notify the learner, is learners consume the content, they log in to the platform, they watch videos, they read articles, they take assessments, they create questions, and they message the mentor about any clarification. Whenever they're watching the video itself, they can post a question about that video so that it will be clarified by the mentor in that moment, in that context itself, right? Rather than waiting for a week or weekday or a couple of days in order to get the question clarified, the mentee can quickly get the question clarified because it is being shown in that context, right? And then once the learners consume the content, what we are also going to do is we're going to track the learner. This is where AI comes into picture, right? In order for this AI modules to work, I need to collect data, right? We're going to track what are those activities that the learner is performing in the platform. What kind of videos is he watching, right? What kind of articles is he reading, right? And then what kind of questions is he asking the mentor, right? Based on that, his AI quotient is going to be recalculated. We'll be also showing frequent assessments, right? So pop quizzes. So basically, which the attendee can complete, so that will also result in calculating AI quotient, right? The AI quotient calculation is a multi-dimensional activity where we're not just looking at his answers to certain questions, we're also looking at how many articles is he reading, how active is he on the platform. Based on that, his AI quotient is going to be calculated, and based on that, content is going to be filtered, right? And then once we calculate all this, remember the pain point that Mary was having? She did not have time to provide feedback to her mentees, right? So we are going to actually update the learner progress to the mentor so that the mentors don't need to spend a lot of time figuring out, okay, what video should I share it to Sai, right? What video should I share it to Leo? What articles should I be looking at? We'll also be giving them a recommendation engine where they can pick and choose different videos, different tutorials from our knowledge base, and they can recommend it to the users, right? So this is how this LMS was set up. Now let us look at a small demo of how this LMS actually looks like, right? So if I just come here, this is the platform, Feedback First, right? So this is the website, feedbackfirst.app is the URL. And then you can see the key attributes of this LMS is personalized feedback. So you can, whatever questions you ask, right, you can directly reach out to the mentor, and the mentor will address your question, not in a generic way, but in a way that you can comprehend, right? It's a more personal touch with respect to that. And you'll have assessments which will evaluate where you stand. And based on your AI quotient, as we discussed, all your content is going to be recommended, right? You also have article recommendation. You think of it as like Netflix of articles, just like how Netflix recommends you movies and all that. You have so much good content lying in LinkedIn, lying in Medium and all these different platforms, engineering blogs of Facebook, Apple, Google, right? So can we curate that content that is going to be helpful, right? So that we can actually consume, even if you read one article at a time, your AI quotient is going to be significantly improved. And that's exactly what you are looking at, right? So building AI products. And talking about building AI products, we also have a list of 100 AI product ideas that you can choose. We'll also see those recommendations coming in. That's based on your AI quotient, right? Your product ideas are going to be recommended, right? And you're going to take them and you're going to apply them, right? And then these are different mentoring plans. You have a free plan where for 30 days you're free to use all the functionality, right? And you have a mentoring plan where you have a mentor, and the mentor is going to help you for 3 months to build a product of your choice. And you can also have a yearly plan, right? So these are paid plans. This is where you can have interview support, resume preparation, workshops, right? More elaborate support, more in-depth support on that, right? So this, in a nutshell, is what the platform is right? Now let me show you the functionality of this, each of the AI modes, each functionality and how AI is going to come in. Okay, so let me just log in to this, right? So you need to create an account, right? I already have an account here, so I'm just logging in to that account. And once I log in, it will direct me to the dashboard, right? So I have the dashboard here, and for this particular account, I have my AI quotient is 33, which is a bit on the lower side. And these are the topics as we speak, right? So that I need to improve, right? And I can click on a link here, right? And it will be directed, right, to that YouTube video, right? I can actually watch this YouTube video there and then itself. Generally, we use YouTube as a hosting platform because of all the content. There's so much content that is available, right? So in order to manage that, we are actually using YouTube as a hosting service, right? And all these videos are unlisted, meaning you'll have access to them only when you are logging into this portal, right? So these are not free. You have unlisted videos that you can access. This is so that they are personalized, right? And let us say I want to improve my AI quotient, right? I click on AI quotient, and then here is where assessment comes in. So it will tell me, okay, this is my current AI quotient, right? I get to probably choose the right answer here, and then click on evaluate. I got my answer wrong, right? I also get a recommendation using AI modules, right? They will figure out, okay, if a person gets wrong with this AI quotient 33, right? He got wrong this particular concept about hyperparameter tuning, right? So he will be shown a recommendation that which is at his AI quotient level, right? Low AI quotient level, right? Had it been a person with higher AI quotient, right? Then the recommendation would be a more complex one. The question itself might be a more complex one. The recommendation will be higher complex one. So we have different variations of videos being picked purely based on AI quotient. Right? So this is how we are trying to ensure that personalized mentoring is happening, right? And then once I come here, I can also look at ask questions about feedback. If I click on feedback, right, I can directly ask a question to a mentor, right? I can ask what the question is, right? And once I ask the question, right, that question will be emailed to the mentor, and typically the mentor will respond, right? So that you can see all the list of questions that you asked as part of the program in one place. And we have AI modules that will also analyze this, right? And we'll be looking at named entity recognition. Right? So that's a technique that we use to figure out what are the topics, right, that this person is having questions about. And accordingly, what happens based on that will be showing all those recommended tutorials in this my improvement areas, right? So whatever are the feedback questions we're asking, based on that, all these topics are going to be populated. Right? These are all questions for topics that this person has asked questions about, and the AI module is going to automatically analyze the feedback and accordingly show him all these topics, right? And you're also looking at products, right? So now, okay, all this is good. Learning, AI, machine learning, all the thing is good, right? But what if I want to build an AI product, right? We have, as I told you, we have close to, more than 100 AI product ideas, right? And we are going to showcase those ideas, right? Those products that are actually customized as per your AI quotient, right? So that's exactly what this product list is going to look like. As you can see, right? Stock market predictor, right? What is AI quotient there? Right? So all this AI quotient, because the person's AI quotient is low, right? He's getting all these recommendations, activity tracker, Twitter sentiment analyzer, right? You can just click on any of this. Like say, for example, if I click on, let us say, click on this knowledge graph, right? It will show steps, articles that we've collected from different sources that will explain how you can actually build a domain-specific knowledge graph for a given set of documents, right? What are the different steps that you can look at, right? So this is how you are looking at it, right? And then these are the two other functionalities which are actually very important for you to learn, right? You can choose what AI product you wish to build, right? Let us say you can we group them into 4 different categories, but if you sign up for the program, you will get a customized coaching plan as per your needs, right? Let us say you have your own product ideas, right? And you want to build a product of your choice, right? Based on the discussion with your mentor, you'll be getting a personalized curated plan. Right now, these are the most popular plans that you're seeing. Right? You have classical ML products, right? So if let us say if you are looking at something like this, right? And if let us say if I click on inferential statistics, right? So you'll be looking at tutorials which are prepared by the mentors here, right? Some of them is a collection of YouTube videos and self-created tutorials, right? And you'll be looking, you can ask for feedback directly in this particular context itself, right? And then, oops, some issue, right? And then you'll also be looking at articles as recommended articles that are coming in on the right-hand top corner. Recommended articles and recommended videos. If I just click here, influencer statistics, right, you'll see recommended related videos and related articles. Right, this is again recommendation engine. So we are using, what we did was we have this video, we have identified the summary of this video, we have generated a summary using summarization techniques, and then we match that summary with summary of other videos that we have. Right, as you can see, because this inferential statistics, you will see the related videos are probability, descriptive stats, central tendency, right? And then you also see related articles about descriptive stats, monitoring data quality at scale with statistical modeling. These are all related articles that you're getting for that video. We are still working on improving it, that as we get more and more data, we'll be able to improve it even more, right? And then the final module that we're looking at is, so all the modules that you think you're looking at here, right? They're all oriented towards the user learning things by himself. Sure, he'll be having discussions with the mentor and looking at it, right? But the idea here is, if you are learning by yourself, the more effort you put in learning by yourself, the better are the chances that that is going to stay with you, right? That's the reason we are arming you with the product ideas, with coaching plans, with the recommendations. That's how an AI-powered LMS look like. That's the power of AI, right? With AI, the human intervention should be as minimal as possible. It should still be there. You can't just completely rely on AI, right? But AI should be able to do the heavy lifting part, right? Like coming up with recommended articles, recommended videos. If a mentor is doing that, the mentor might never have time, right? Whereas if AI is doing it, that is automated, right? And it can take feedback from you, right? Whether you are liking that article, whether the article makes sense or not, whether the video recommendation makes sense or not. Based on that, it will learn, and eventually it is going to be better, right? And this is how you're looking at articles. You can also, you can bookmark articles, right? Whatever articles that you read, they will be captured as part of favorite section, right? Let us say you can look at an article like this, right? So which actually talks about how we build ethical AI products, right? So these are articles that will improve AI quotients. The more articles you read, the higher would be your AI quotient. The higher your AI quotient, the better would be the recommendations with respect to content, right? So this is at a high level how the platform is, LMS. Okay. Now you might be interested in knowing, how do you build this? Let us say you want to build something like this. It looks simple, isn't it? It's not rocket science, if you think of it. How do you get started? How do you build this from scratch, right? That's where you need to first understand the tech stack. What is the tech stack that we're using for this particular LMS, right? In the backend, so everything is actually deployed in Google Cloud. We are personally huge fans of Google Cloud, particularly because of its ease of use, and it's also cheap, right? So meaning you have credits to actually deploy it, right? And so anybody can actually build it. Okay. And then in Google Cloud, we used VMs, we used App Engine, we used cloud storage, and we used Cloud Run containers. I'm going to show you a demo of Cloud Run also, right? And then the backend for this is MongoDB and MySQL, right? All the unstructured data, we have put it in MongoDB. All those collections in MongoDB contains these articles, videos that the mentor is uploading and all that, right? And in the front end, we used Bootstrap templates, simple Bootstrap templates that you can download, right? But the glue that holds all these three layers together is Python. Python is the programming language of choice for students at Feedback First. So they're going to always build stuff in Python. It's also the easiest thing to learn, right? And we use this Flask framework to do this. So Flask is nothing but it's a web server. So you're going to actually create a server-side application that is going to take in this information, and you're going to glue all these things together, right? Now let us see what are the steps involved in this. Let us say if I come here, right? First thing is you need to start from top-down approach. You need to start with front end. You need to choose a template, right? There's a good site that we use to get these templates, and that is nothing but creativeteam.com, right? So this creativeteam.com has wonderful templates with respect to dashboard, with respect to front end. These are all free templates, by the way, right? And then you take one of those templates. Let us say you go for, let us say you take this template, okay? And then you can download that. You'll be getting a zip file that contains the assets, right? All the HTML and the JavaScript for this, right? Now you download that and then you create a folder structure. Okay, let me also show you the folder structure as to how exactly the folder structure is going to look like, right? So let me just come here. Okay, let me just go to quick access, right? And also show you the folder structure as to how this whole thing actually looks like. Right? So this is how you actually create a folder structure. The most important part is you create a static folder that contains all the stuff with respect to your images, CSS, right? JavaScript folders, right? So basics of web programming. Again, you will anyway learn all this if you're part of the program, right? So JavaScript, SCSS, Java jQuery, all the assets, all the images, right? Styling related information is stored into the static folder. And in the templates folder, you have all the web pages that are going to be part of your product, right? You, as part of LMS, whatever capabilities you need, right? You create those LMS pages here. Right? Let us say this is our registration page. This is how the registration page looks like, right? You just open it, and this is how it is going to look like. And then you edit this registration pages, okay? And then once you have these pages, right? The next step is have that Python file, and this is our Python file, main.py, right? Which contains the business logic of how do I process it. If I click on this registration page here, right? If I click on submit, if I click on register here, where will it go? Right? How will your account be created? Because I need to actually update your details in the backend database, Mongo database, right? Where is the connection being made? Okay, so that's exactly where what you do is, let me just open up one page and then give you a sense of how that actually looks like. Right? If I go to register page here, right? And then if I click on open with Sublime, right? Now, if you see here, what we are going to see here is what will happen if somebody clicks on submit, clicks on register, right? So what happens there is you need to mention what happens once they click on this. It's part of a form, okay? Simple HTML forms. Once people click on submit, it will trigger this action, register. And where is this action register? It's part of this Python file, right? If I just come here. Right? If I come here, you can see what happens once I click on register. So this is a typical Flask program. It's a Python script, right? So where what I'm doing is I'm importing all the libraries, right? And then I am defining some methods which can actually calculate it. This is where I'm defining the Flask server. I'm creating a Flask application, right? I'm saying this is how the database is connected, right? And then you are going to connect to the database, right? And we're also going to see what will happen when somebody clicks on that form action, which is register. Then once they click on submit, all the user details, right? Now they're going to be inserted into this. That the password is going to be encrypted, right? And the information, then the user details are going to be uploaded into the database, right? And we ensure that security measures are in place so that it's secure, right? And once the user registration is successful, then which page has to be rendered. That's all the pages that are part of this web application would be part of the templates folder, right? So that is how this is designed, right? And similarly, what will happen if I click on recommendation engine, if I click on tutorials, right? So all the logic, what AI modules are being run, everything is in place here, right? But let me show you one pipeline that we have created that is going to actually help you understand how AI is going to be used. Let us take an example of article upload. Okay, this is for the mentor. Right? So if I click on article, this is where a mentor is uploading an article to the user. Right? I came across this article, and I want to share this with people with high AI quotient. Right? And this article talks about using AI to bring children's drawings to life. So people who are interested in computer vision, that's students who are part of that track, who are building computer vision powered product, they might take this article as very interesting and it might help them, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to now upload this article, right? I'm going to give the article URL, right? And I'm also going to put in the topic of this URL, right? Which is this topic here, right? And then I'm also going to generate article summary will anyway be generated by the machine learning models, but I can also share the first paragraph as article summary. That's just in case if the article summary generated by the machine is not good enough. The route score is a metric that we use, right? If the metric is not high, then it will fall back on article summary that is being given, right? And then I say meta, and I'll say the idea is in the area of computer vision, right? And I click on share it with learners. The moment I do this, what will happen is, right? It will trigger. It will actually call this instance. right, which actually has a machine learning model that will generate the entities, because I did not deploy the machine learning model in the same instance as the application, because that will crash the application, right? So what I did was I decoupled it. I used something called Cloud Run, which is a serverless way to create a container, which will have a Docker image. Right? Let me also show that. Right. So if I just come here, right, this is the instance on which that particular instance is running, the machine learning code. Right, as you can see, this is how you are going to create a text summarization pipeline. Right, the Docker file contains all the libraries that are required, and if you look at requirements.txt, right, will contain all the packages that are required, and we'll be using transformers, we'll be using Spacey, we'll be using scikit-learn, all those top machine learning packages, and the main.py file, right, will contain different stages with respect to, like, if I just do this, right, it will contain different stages. First step, what happens is it will scrape the text from the article, whatever article that I just mentioned, right, and then it will generate a summary, right, and then it will generate recommendations. It will create word embeddings based on word2vec, right, and after it creates generate recommendation, create those word embeddings, it will calculate the cosine similarity, and then it will generate the recommendations, and then it will push the recommendations to the DB, right? And at the same time, it is also going to update the recommendations in a Google spreadsheet, which is actually used by mobile app version of AI Quotient, which we'll be covering in a later session, right? So at the same time, this pipeline is set, okay? And whatever recommendation that I just uploaded, now it is now available. It will trigger an email. This entire script is going to trigger an email, and this whole thing is deployed here. Right? This is the URL that contains this container. Right? So this is a Cloud Run container provided by Google. So where Google will take care of memory allocation, Google will take care of scaling this particular endpoint, right? As many requests as coming in, it's going to scale that, and it is going to return the result. Right? So this is how we decouple stuff, because when it comes to AI-powered products, right, you can't have the AI models running on the same instance, which also holds the business logic for your application. And I can't have loading the feedback first app pages being slowed down due to libraries that are required by AI modules. Right? So that's the reason why we decoupled it. Okay, so this is how we actually built this LMS, right? So if you take a particular product, you can learn more in detail. Our focus is that if you are learning to build if you're learning AI, it is best learned if you're trying to solve a problem using AI. Right? And that's exactly what this LMS is. So LMS itself was built by students from the Feedback First program, right? And based on whatever they have learned, they've tried different combinations and they've built this, right? So whatever that you're seeing is work, is output of the students who are part of the work. Multiple students from different cohorts actually worked and built this, right? To summarize, this is what we wanted to cover. So to summarize, what are the key steps of building an AI-powered LMS? You need to first get the users clarified, what are their pain points, right? What exactly you're trying to build, both the personas, and then you need to figure out how you're going to build it out, right? Different use cases and how the entire pipeline is going to look like. And then you start building the solution by decoupling AI modules, AI models as much as you can from the application, right? And we used a variety of cloud providers, which makes our job easy. We can focus on the business logic aspect of it, right? And our tech stack is also very simple. It's not that complicated. Maybe in future it might get complicated, but for now, the first version of Feedback First, we are okay with whatever that we are seeing here. Okay, this is the website. You can try it out, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Right, so let me open up for questions. Okay, and there is a question from Divya, right? Can I build a product based on my own idea or only based on recommendations? It's up to you, Divya. Recommendations are just to get you started. Right. So if you have your own ideas, by all means, you can discuss with the mentor, and based on the discussion, you'll be suggested a personalized coaching plan that you can take and use to build. Right. And then there's a question with Subhash is, to be precise, how much CPU, vCPU, and memory is needed? That's a good question. Let me just go here. Right. So this is my Cloud Run service that you're seeing here. And if I click on edit and deploy, you will see the configuration. Right? I tried multiple combinations. We tried multiple combinations. Again, it depends on traffic and all that. But because it's AI model, right, we are looking at least 4 GB memory and 2 virtual CPUs. right? And we're also using second generation systems which were released recently, which have their own file systems, full Linux compatibility, and faster CPU performance, right? And auto scaling also, generally default value is 0. But in order to solve the cold start problem, meaning when we deploy it first time, it will take some time to spin off that instance, right? What we said was, okay, we'll always keep the instance up and running. Right, so that's the minimum number of instances is 1, and we can modify this also depending on your budget, right? You can tweak the parameters here. Okay, clear? Any other questions? Any other questions from you guys? Cool, right? If you want to reach out to us, right, you can log into the website. You can contact us to the website, right? Or you can directly reply the email, right, where you got the calendar invite for this session, right? So whichever works for you, you can actually use that. Okay, cool. Have a wonderful week ahead. Thanks for joining the session. We'll again meet in another AI Product-a-thon session next week. Bye for now.